nothing around here. It's all kind of off the cusp, low, low production value. No, actually, to be fair, it's a little bit of production value. It's all good. It's all good. It's where we
We're
like it.
trying.
Nice and organic.
We're trying.
Hey guys, how's it all going? Who
Oh,
do we
there
got
we
here
are.
tonight? Oh, sorry, this morning, I guess. Most people for morning, right? Got
Yeah,
Mirix here.
yeah.
Got Crayon here. We got Moot here. Got Whittlebears here. Got Snokey here. We got Jenny here. We got Dragon022, Turtle Vengeance. We got WV Begabon. We got Crayon. We got King Bushcamp. We got It's Krozik. We got Steven. We got Gregory. We got Murtu. We got Dr. Beats. We got Drupal. Thank you for the gifted sub. Oh wait, there's a direct sub actually.
Man, we got all the legends in here, man.
There's a lot of OGs here. A lot
morning.
of OGs here. This is good. This is good. This is good. Dommy Max Mummies here. We got King Bushcamp. All right, guys. We're here with Kick Weekly Talk, episode 22. We got Stay Safe GG. Yo, Andrew, I'll hand over to you to gas Stay Safe up real quick, and then we'll just jump right into it.
Yeah, man, this guy has been streaming for a while, man, from like 2016, 2015. He came up as a WoW creator. Highly opinionated, family man, streamer. He's got the most based community, and you know they proudly wear that badge. And he's got a lot of good ideas around Kick, man. This guy came over and immediately started punching holes in Kick. Immediately started doing more long form video on YouTube. I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about the spark that drove him to, you know, try new things, try out of the platforms, do other things. But this guy runs with guys like Mitch Jones. You know, he runs with the OTK clan. What really impressed me about this guy is that at one point there was a small faction that was kind of coming after this guy. And he put out a series of videos that he brought receipts, man. And he articulated his point, and he went back in history to like uncover like his side of the story, right? A lot of people just kind of like let things die off into oblivion, and I think that the more that we experience, like, you know, call out culture, cancel culture, things of that nature, it's good to see guys like this kind of stand up and just tell it how it is, so to speak. So, look, Matt, stay safe. I hope I gave you justice in your journey, man. But I want to introduce you to Eddie, man, because it's a real honor to have you on Kick and streaming on the platform, man.
No, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the invite. I'm a new guy on Kick, but I've been streaming for a while, and so I feel like for the first time in a long time, I feel like on Kick, I'm not really, you know, stepping on eggshells every time I go live on stream. I feel like I can kind of relax. Twitch is a totally different vibe than it is over here on Kick, and I know both of you guys are busy. Eddie is, God, there's like 3,500 billionaires, and this guy's one of them. He's a busy guy. He's got stuff to do, so I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate the time. It means a lot.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for coming on, man. I think Andrew was. I think when you first moved over the Kick, I remember Andrew kind of posting out and saying, "Hey, look, you know, this is kind of a pretty big deal," and kind of posted to the team to let everyone know. So it's great to have you on Kick Talk. Thank you for taking the time. Waking up early, right? Are you on the East or West Coast?
I'm on the West Coast, so this morning I didn't want to oversleep. I set my alarm for 5 in the morning. It's 6:45 now. I took my shower. I have the winter sniffles. It's cold up here where I live, up in Washington, so I'm sorry if I like cough or anything, but I'm excited.
Cool. I guess from my side, I got like a few sort of real basic questions, and I'll probably like hand it over to you. Like Andrew said, well, you've got a few sort of ideas, you've got a few sort of questions, a few sort of things around Kick that you want to bring up. So I might just start with a few. Obviously the biggest one, right, is as Andrew said, like you've been around for a while. You've been around 2016, over like 7-8 years streaming, right? Obviously primarily always on Twitch, right? And you kind of just made your way over just one day and decided to give it a crack. You know, what kind of incited that? Like, you know, how do we end up here on Kick Talk together?
Well, it wasn't for no reason. There was a very good reason. So I'll give you a little bit of a history. I've been a full-time streamer for 7.5 years, okay? And that entire time I've been on Twitch, not once in 7 years on Twitch have I ever received any type of behavioral suspension, in any trouble, nothing on Twitch. It's all good. And by the way, I'll say real fast, my content is sort of right-leaning, conservative, traditional conversation, politics, news coverage, and also World of Warcraft, kind of mixing the two. So never have I had an issue on Twitch. Starting about 3 months ago, I got my very first suspension for hateful conduct, is what they called it. Okay, what did I do that was hateful? What happened? It said the instance of hateful conduct occurred on your VOD or in a clip. They didn't actually say what VOD or what clip or what I said. There was no context. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then it got overturned within about a day and a half. Okay, weird. I'll let it slide. 3 or 4 weeks later, the same thing happens again. Another hateful conduct suspension. This time it sticks for 2 weeks. And so I'm sitting there. It's like okay, it's election season. The election is coming up in the US. I'm like the only right-leaning guy on the entire platform. We know that the Twitch moderation team has some type of bias or preferential bias for certain people of certain ideologies. That seems to be the case. As we now know, there's been some leaks that have come out regarding Destiny and Asmongold. They've got notes saying never unban this guy, or we don't like this guy, whatever. And it's like I'm getting banned multiple times with no proof at all, and it's hateful. If it's like hateful conduct is a pretty big allegation, right?
Yeah. That's a big word. Hateful conduct is like that carries weight.
And so, I'm this purportedly hateful guy, but it's like there's not a single clip of me being hateful, and Twitch also won't even tell me what I did that was hateful. And so I'm, after the second suspension, I'm like, I'm a husband. I've got 2 kids. I've got bills to pay. I'm like a real human being. It would be incompetent for me to continue to stream on this platform exclusively. A little bit, okay, but this place cannot be my home anymore if I'm going to be getting treated like this. I would be the dumbest guy in the world, because it seems very clearly like there is some agenda going on. Something is weird here, right?
Yeah, no, I think like you said, at that point in time when you kind of, I guess I think the biggest thing, right, is the lack of evidence, right? I guess that's the thing where you kind of wonder, like, hold on a second, like what's actually going on here, and what's going to happen next time. And I guess if you have been full time for 7 years, it's dangerous at that point, right? It ends up being a risk, which is it's scary. It's scary. Well, coming back to, as you said before, like kind of walking on eggshells, and again, I guess it's hard to prove, right? But yeah, I guess there is, I guess in the US, right, politics is a big deal, and I guess all US companies, or US people, they have their ideologies, and I guess if that gets brought into moderation at any point, that's a scary point. Again, was that the exact reason? But it's hard to tell, but. It sounds like a sticky place to be in, and then as a result, you've come over here, and I take it so far the experience has been pretty neat.
It's been awesome. Yeah, it's been awesome. One of my big questions for you guys today is kind of how does the terms of service moderation enforcement, how does that work behind the scenes on your end? Who's involved? Who talks about it? Who makes the final decision? How many people weigh in? What are the inner workings of the moderation? And then also another thing I want to talk about. This is maybe 3 weeks ago on Twitter. Okay, a clip pops up, and I'm on Kick at this point, and it's Santa Maria here actually saying, and I think this is clipped out of context, so there's a reason I want clarification. It says, something to the effect of, "We don't want right-wing politics on the platform," and so I want clarification on that, because on my X feed, I'm clued into like all of the sort of right-leaning algorithm, and people are going crazy. Kick hates right wingers, whatever. And I'm like, listen, I think he's talking like extreme hyper fringe stuff and not just like normal right wing politics. So I want context on that. That would be helpful. But then also, yeah, how do you guys do it? How do you decide? How do you enforce stuff?
Well, maybe Andrew, I'll let you answer the the out of context clip first.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's exactly, and I did address it in a town hall a couple days later when I saw that clip, gaining some traction. But yeah, listen, 100%, we don't want extremism in any category. And I think in that clip, I mentioned a lot of different genres. I said everything from VR chat to pools to to political commentary, to just chatting. We're at Kick. We're just reasonable, man, and it's an Australian-owned company, and we let people speak their truth and be themselves, right? But at the same time, and when it starts to cross over into anything crazy extreme, and as you know, on Kick, we're pretty tolerant, man. We give a lot of chances. We're more reformative on Kick. We have conversations with people. But yeah, that clip was definitely taken out of context by a few select pick-me's that may not be happy about how things have gone for them. But at the same time, I want to assure everyone, like, we love having opinions. We love streamers being adults. We love streamers being thought-provoking and pushing the boundaries. It's the only way you're going to evolve a platform. So, not getting my politics into it. I don't have any, because I work for a company that inherently doesn't give a shit about that, and they really just want you to come on stream and just fucking be yourself. That's it.
I guess what Andrew,
Yeah,
again, I think the discussion at that point in time as well. I think at that point in time, I think there was like Nick Fuentes did like one stream, right, Andrew? He was on Kick for like one stream. Again, I don't think he did a stream after that. I think there was some like conversation around this, like, relatively further leaning right wing stuff, right? Again, that's what you were referencing. I guess like only 2 weeks before that comment, we literally had like Donald Trump on Kick, right? So like, when people took that out of context, like, come on a second, like I think to Andrew's point as well, the big thing is
we have Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got everything, right? I think that's the thing, right? We certainly don't have a bias, because I'll tell you what, here in Australia, like, the politics just ain't the same as the US. Like, we have our elections and whatever, but we just don't really talk about it. And yeah, the most of the moderation team, trust and safety team, they're obviously not US orientated, so it doesn't play a part in our moderation whatsoever. I think, to honestly, the whole US stuff, I think, baffles the whole of the the rest of the world, how you guys run your politics and your ideologies around that. It's hard to even understand. So yeah, I think yeah, that they're completely out of context and by no means true. I think that's the great thing about Kick, is we genuinely sit dead set, in the middle in terms of, where people want to voice their opinions. I think it's just when it gets to that extreme end of the spectrum that it's like, hold on a second, we need to bring things in and reel it in a bit.
You know what, Matt, real quick, just to double down on this, like when we talk about other platforms association around money and the funneling of money, right, can really influence their position in things. I think we've seen it with Twitch. I think you can see it with other platforms in their affiliation, and that can get equally as dangerous, right? What I absolutely love about Kick is Kick stands on its own. Kick stands on its own as a live streaming platform. Just come on here. It's a directory. Talk about what you want. Build the community how you want it, right? And when it's up to us to give you the right tools in order to keep your community safe, or the kind of community that you want, or like, give you the tools for you to engage with your community. But I think it's important to say, like Kick is autonomous, man. There's no one in the back rooms knocking on doors saying, "Hey, we really don't like what this streamer is saying, or we really don't like the direction of this platform." It's all owned by Eddie, right? Who, and that's what I absolutely love. There's no man behind the curtain, because the man behind the curtain is out here every week talking in a community, man.
Yeah. Okay, this is a lot to unpackage. Okay, so first off, with advertisers, it is most certainly true. Having ads on the website is beneficial in some ways. It's detrimental in other ways. One such detrimental way is you see this with Twitch right now. There are rumors of advertiser boycotts. They've lost, this advertiser and that advertiser. Various groups are organizing to strip their advertisers away, and that really damages streamers a lot. I was watching a Kick talk with Eddie that took place about a year ago. And a year ago, you were talking advertisers at some point Where does that stand right now with ads on Kick?
Yeah, advertising's it's the future for Kick, right? From a revenue perspective. At this point in time, our goal is to get the product in a spot where it is competitive with companies that have been around for 10, 15, even 20 years, such as YouTube. So that's kind of goal A, and B after that is trying to rapidly expand market share, right, and trying to really push to bring viewers over. I think that's a big thing for us. Trying to bring people over, and subsequently we're in a really fortunate position because over on other platforms you get bombarded with 10% of ads. It's like watching an old school TV network, right? It's a fuckload of ads. It kind of kills the viewer experience. So it's a great upside for Kick, right? It's a great unique selling point, and in an industry that is incredibly competitive and locked down by behemoths like Google's YouTube and Amazon's Twitch or whatever. We need to have a point of differentiation. Having no ads is a great point of differentiation, right? We need anything we can get. So we're going to hold on to that for as long as possible. Obviously, the opportunity cost of not running ads, it's big, right? Every day we don't run ads or get into the advertising market, it costs us money. But at the same time, we recognize that jumping headfirst into that before we can gain more market share and prove to people why Kick is such a great place to be, all the benefits of it, offering people that incredible uninterrupted viewer experience, we want to lean on that for as long as we possibly can. So yeah. Subsequently, we're going to hold off on ads for as long as we can. I have a feeling that they'll probably come towards the end of next year, so we've probably got a decent runway left. But they will come, and obviously that will change the landscape of Kick. Advertising is a very broad subject, right? There's a lot of aspects involved in it. It is a big undertaking to get involved in, and to do it effectively means that the platform will certainly change. But until then, I think there's an opportunity to have this amazing uninterrupted viewer experience, and also allows us to really experiment with how we want the platform to be run without being kind of told how to do it from the sidelines.
That's a cool take. I like that. So you guys not having ads yet, Kick not having ads has been an intentional decision in order to provide a viewing experience that, for instance, Twitch can't provide at the moment. That's part of your growth plan, is not having ads to make a better viewing experience.
Exactly. I think right now there's a fair few factors that are involved in what creates a great viewing experience. I think I'll be the first to admit, and I've admitted many times, right now the Kick mobile app, for example, is not as good as it should be. I think subsequently that makes a better viewer experience than probably on Twitch, even if they do have ads. So if you're a mobile user, you're probably preferring the Twitch sort of experience there. But I think once the product and everything from the technology side is up to par, then at that point, not having ads, that plays a huge difference. That's the difference between people wanting to actually tune in and watch streams versus just falling off. So yeah, it is certainly a strategic move. I think inserting ads is great, but I think a big part as well is once you do insert ads, right, you do become very much beholden to a certain type of content, right? I think right now we're able to kind of say, okay, we want the bar to be here, moderation policy to be here, etc. Advertisers start to set that standard for you, right? And that's kind of part of the game, and of course, it is an important part of being successfully involved in user-generated content advertising. So I think there's multiple benefits and upsides to not running ads. The downside, of course, being the fact that there's a lot of money we're missing out on. But we look at this as a long-term project, right? We're not looking at this as the next sort of 1, 2, 3 years. I always say this is like the 5 to 10 year horizon and what that entails. And I think the short-term loss of that revenue versus the potential long-term gain severely outweighs it. So that's kind of the thesis behind the situation we're in right now.
That's great that you guys have a long-term approach. I guess I want to share something. Maybe you can add on to this. I'm going to read off some numbers here. Kind of prior to hopping over to Kick and being unsatisfied at Twitch, I had never really closely looked at Kick's analytics versus Twitch's analytics. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm saying that, okay, so in the last 2 years, Twitch has lost about 10% of its total viewership. It's on a decline. In the same time frame, I see that Kick just celebrated its 2-year anniversary. So happy birthday, Kick, has grown from 0 viewers up to about 12% of Twitch's current viewership. Those are the numbers I see on the internet. And so it's like if you're looking at a chart, Twitch is downward going, and Kick is upward going. I think that that's like super impressive that Kick has been able to make that impact, because it's not Kick is not just, getting viewers over from Twitch, but you are necessarily generating viewers that were not even watching Twitch in the first place. That's what the numbers indicate, at least. So what do you guys think about the growth trends, the way Twitch is going, the way Kick is going? Will there be a point where you think that Kick will overtake Twitch? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name or his name. It's the co-owner of Kick. Uh,
Bijan.
what is his name? I apologize. Exactly. Okay, so thank you. He had made some kind of funny joke on X saying that, we're either going to drive them out of business or we're going to purchase them at some point. And that's a pretty bombastic thing to say. You say that from a position of confidence. So I don't know, just like general thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, obviously the goal here is to, to take on the live streaming space. I think live streaming in particular, right? It's about critical mass. I think just with any social media platform, right? It is about being, having that critical mass and leading the market, right? I think that's why there is so few successful social media platforms out there. And when competition does rise up, one usually ends up coming out on top. And, for us, that's always been the idea. There is no coming second here. It's about winning, right? So over time, I think there is a really, really good chance with enough with enough consistency, with enough effort, with enough patience. I think we can certainly overtake Twitch, right? I think that's a very realistic goal, and that is what we've set out to do since day one. Sure, is it going to be a little bit harder than we first anticipated? 100%. But it's certainly something which I think is possible. I think the team here behind Kick, is the same team that has founded the website, been involved since day one. I think at this point, the motivation behind making this, wanting to see this succeed, is there. I don't know if that exists on other platforms. I think they're at the point where they're later stages of life. I think they're primed for disruption. Is my thesis on that, honestly. So. That's what we're going to give a crack. And I think, as you said, looking back on the last 2 years, Kick has gone from an average viewership of obviously, nothing, right? Up to 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 300. I think we're at 350,000 average viewers, right? Which is an incredible number, a really great number. And something which I think is easy to forget how far to come from. I think, in comparison, I think Twitch was sold to Amazon for like $1 billion or something when they had less average viewership, right? So, Kick is a real big player at this point in time. Obviously tiny compared to Twitch still, right? We get that. Tiny compared to YouTube, right? So, there's a long way to go. I think, we've seen a heap of success in some specific markets, Spanish market being one, Turkish market being another one, Arabic, we've seen a lot of success. English market, I'll admit, we're not quite where we'd want to be in terms of market share on that front, but, we're giving it a red hot crack. We're definitely pushing ahead there. We recognize that as an area we need to improve in. So really pushing it hard on English come 2025. That's where it's a really important market, just for the sake of the fact that it is the largest, streaming market. And also, I like to think that it leads a lot of the culture. So we're going to work hard on that. But to your point about acquisitions, I think a lot of that's tongue in cheek, to be honest with you. I think half of the fun is getting there. I like to think of it as a bit like a sport. I think winning is not about paying your way to the top. It's about winning organically, and I think Kick can do that without having to go ahead and write a big check to Amazon. So again, I won't comment on that too far, but I would I don't think that's the most realistic outcome here. I think our goal here is to continue to build out Kick. And I think that's what's great about it. I think if you can build out your own community, your own culture, that's so important. If you buy something, you inherit that culture, you inherit that foundation, and it's hard to change that. You can't change that. I think people, changing a company that has 15 years worth of values embedded in it and 15 years worth of history is very difficult. It's messy as well. It's very messy. So, I think even from if you took back and looked at it realistically, I don't even know if it'd be the greatest idea, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens down the line.
It's one of those things where, like, regardless of whether or not it is a real plan in the future, it gets people talking and it kind of builds confidence. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like that's something that you say from a point of confidence. Otherwise you wouldn't say it, or you would look like a dumbass, right? Whatever. And so this kind of segues into another point. If I'm scrolling through Twitter right now, there are, as you guys have noticed, like a never-ending series of, I would call them like pro Twitch, anti-Kick propaganda accounts. It's like every single negative thing about Kick is being spewed out, and it's lies and it's bullshit. And then it's like a very weird phenomenon. I'm like, are these real accounts, or is there something weird going on? And I'm thinking, Kick needs like counter propaganda. They need, like, any L that Twitch takes, you got to shout it out. You need, I don't know. Have you guys noticed this same phenomenon? There are these accounts on Twitter that are preying and like feeding on the purported downfall of Kick, and it's just like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean?
I think Twitter's an interesting space right now. Yeah, I think at this point in time, it's like the Wild West. It's kind of exciting. It's a lot going on there. You know, maybe it's about fighting fire with fire. You know, I don't know. Whether that's a targeted and organized attack, God knows, right? It could be. It probably is. But you know, I think realistically, people who are actually, you know, tuned in probably know what's going on. You know, I think yeah. I think that yeah, Twitter just in general right now is a tough one. You know, sure, we try to take the same approach and try to tear Twitch down and run that. You know, I'm sure it's possible. You know, those Twitter accounts and what goes on there, like, you know, you could spend a couple of $100 and you can, you know, get a viral misinformation tweet going. It's not exactly a difficult thing, but you know, I think that's a dangerous path to go down. You know, I think when you start like spreading misinformation about competitors and going down that, it's a, you know, it's a point of no return. It's playing dirty. Yeah, I think playing dirty is not the way you win. I think you win by playing fair. You win by you know, being consistent, and you know, at the end of the day, where, you know, I think we're walking the walk, and I think most of the time those pages or those pieces of misinformation, you know, people who actually watch Kick, actually are involved in Kick, know what's good, but the others might not. But you know, you raise a fair point. I think we should maybe try to get on the back, you know, front foot about it, but I think that's a big part about what Twitter's all about now, right? Twitter's literally about, you can say whatever you want and everyone has to deal with it. So, you know, I don't think there's much we can really do. To be fair, I don't mind that either. I think it's a pretty cool approach and it makes Twitter fun. It does have its borders though. But yeah, is there any pages in particular that you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have them followed. I feel like I see, like, I want to say one loosely is maybe called Feared Buck. How about this? I'll maybe put together, if I see them, I'll send them over to you and I'll kind of show you. It's
Oh,
not
you know
it's
who
not
they're all like Aiden's friends. Yeah, like Aiden Ross's friends. I think they're just having a bit of a dig.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's they're all friends. Yeah, they're putting like those fake statistics up where it was like, I think it was like Kick's viewerships dropped 80% or something, and it was like because the data, they chose like 1
That's
hour
the
worth of
recent one,
data. I
yeah.
was like, you kidding me? Like, people aren't dumb.
It shows the first week of December. Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
know what?
yeah.
That stuff goes viral, and it's the optics that are super super important. And most people are not going to take the time to do a fact check or look more deeply into it, right? And so I guess like the word propaganda that I used maybe is taboo, and that's not the right word. But you know, they say like the best propaganda is the truth, and so it's like, actually, Kick is on the incline. Actually, Twitch is on the decline. Actually, there's advertiser boycotts. Actually, Twitch streamers are making less money. So, like, just highlighting these things. Hey, Kick is a good place to be, and I think this is a good segue into the Kick Creator Incentive Program. Um, you know, it's like, since coming over here to Kick in the last couple weeks and being accepted into the Kick Creator Program, like, I'm going to be totally transparent. I'll give a couple numbers here. Hovering around 1,300 viewers on Twitch, I maybe make $20 or $25 an hour in advertiser revenue on Twitch, okay, per hour. Kit Creator Program, there's no ads, so it's not a bother for the viewers. It's like between $80 and $100 an hour. It's like, dude, I'm making 3, 4, sometimes 5 times more per hour in the Kit Creator Program on Kick than I ever was on Twitch, and it's like nobody is talking about this. This is something that if I think more streamers were aware of, I think people would probably come over in droves. And you know, when I first kind of applied to the Kit Creator Program, I was kind of Googling around, you know, what can I expect? I was thinking I might get $16 an hour. It's like, no. And so I guess it's like, no. And so I want to know, I want to know kind of what is the formula like? You know, what does it look like on the back end? I guess I want more information for the Kit Creator Program, and I think the information would actually be very convincing for other streamers listening to this, maybe.
Yeah, so KCIP, so we've got a pretty good feel on where ad rev is, right? On Twitch. I think it depends on a lot of variables. I think, you know, what content you stream. I think whether you're brand friendly probably comes into a certain sort of play there. I think IRL streamers get like an incredibly low revenue. I think, you know, people who play certain games get a much higher revenue. There's a whole bunch of factors involved in it. And, you know, from what we've put together, if you are an English speaking streamer, you should be getting about 4 to 5 times as much on Kick for the same viewership. If your viewership doesn't drop, again, that's if your viewership doesn't drop. I must say, to be fair, if you are moving platforms, the chances are you're going to lose a bit of viewership, and we get that. So, you know, assuming your viewership remains exactly the same, you'd get about 4 to 5x of what the ad revenue would be. You'd also take home 95% of the subs, right? I think people forget about that now too. Like sub revenue, 95%, you know, versus 50%, 70%, whatever that is exactly, depending on your situation. You know, that ends up making a ton of a difference too. So, you know, again, I don't think people talk about it much because I don't know. I don't think KCIP has been marketed obviously in a way that we've ever been too aggressive with it, right? We've kind of thought, okay, you know what? We'll just let people slowly find out about this, organically realize what it's all about. You know, the thing is, when you try to shove it down people's throats, they're too scared to kind of take it on. I think a lot of people are kind of looking for these big contracts, like these big deals and stuff. But we kind of replace that, right? I think there was a viral clip just recently on you know, whether it was live stream fail or Twitter, I can't remember, but you know, where it was like Myth, right? He got paid $4 million by YouTube and he averaged like 100 viewers, right? Because he basically got lazy, right? He got lazy. The same thing happened with a lot of Kick streamers. A lot of people signed over the Kick and then they came over the Kick, they made a bit of money, they got lazy, right? And obviously the problem with that is if you offer flat amounts, which isn't based on performance, people are naturally lazy. You give someone like X amount of dollars to perform Y, give them enough time that we do Y divided by 10, right? Like basically people become lazy because X doesn't change. The outcome doesn't change, but the input doesn't have to, you know, remain consistent. So therefore you've got a, you know, scenario that was just destined to fail, unfortunately. I think that's just something we realized. So KCIP was a situation we go, okay, rather than paying people flat amounts, we'll say, okay, we'll pay you an incredibly aggressive rate, a really aggressive rate. But you have to perform. You have to actually make engaging content. You have to retain your viewership, and that's how it works out. And you know, I think hopefully people start realizing that. Especially, I think there is some issues with other platforms right now in terms of like, you know, ad revenue and stuff like that. And I think more people should be giving KCIP a chance. It's really easy to get fast tracked into as well. If you've got a big viewership elsewhere, you can, you know, almost instantly get accepted into KCIP. Otherwise, if you don't have that existing viewership, there is some metrics you need to meet, but they're not impossible to get. And you know, from that point onwards, it's bloody good. And I think, as you mentioned as well, that there's no ads right now either, right? So there's no ads, and without the ads, of course, that's just, you know, creates an incredible viewing experience, whilst not having to, you know, sit there and put your audience through like 8 minutes of ads every like whatever it is. So yeah, KCIP is huge. I wish more people knew about it. If you could help spread that to some of your people, your friends, it would be awesome. I think people sleep on it, you know?
Well, I'm just going to publicly say now, okay, this is the first time I've ever spoken to you guys. I've never been talked to about gambling. I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I join the program, I have to gamble or do this. I'm beholden. I have to. Okay, I'm not a gambler. I've never ever spoken to Eddie or Santa Maria before this, and I was expecting like $16 an hour in the Kit Creator program. Okay, I get accepted. I do my first stream, and it's like, what the hell? I was shocked. And so, all in all, it's been a couple weeks now that I've been in the program. I am considering the Kit Creator program and the 95/5 sub split. I'm making probably 2.5 times more on Kick than I ever did on Twitch, like on a day per day, month per month rate. It's changed my life. Like, it's actually nuts. It's insane. It's crazy.
You know what? And you're not even talking about like the net 15 and payout. You're also talking about weekly payment options or monthly. I mean, there's a lot of good things to like about the KCIP program, you know, and when we introduce ads into the mix as another revenue stream, it's just going to make it that much stronger. I think another thing that that I'm really excited about KCIP is gamifying the dashboard of KCIP, right? Like right now it's very rudimentary. You get in, you stream, you get paid, but having those other mile markers of like, let's say you host out a number of times per month, you get a slight bump, right? Let's say your unique chatters sees a spike above the average, we might, give you a slight bump. Just really exploring KCIP and how to incentivize creators to keep creating great content.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you guys are aware of this. Going into this conversation, I didn't want to talk about things that you guys are like most certainly aware of. So you mentioned the Kick mobile app. Okay, you guys know the analytics on the back end of the platform. You guys know that there's room to build out the analytics. This is, but I think gamifying Kick Creator Program is a super. I mean, everybody here is like a gamer, and that just like it triggers the minds of streamers like us, and so that's a super good idea. This is a negative of Kick I want to talk about real fast, and I think that this kind of ties into maybe ads coming in the future and the Kick Creator Program. My anecdote, and let me know if you guys agree with this, is that on Kick there is way less of kind of a subscriber culture. You see fewer people subscribing on Kick than you do on Twitch. And when I say this, I'm not even considering or factoring in Twitch Prime. I think just in general, tier 1 subs or $4.99 subs, I think there's fewer of them. And so I was curious, and so about 2 weeks ago, I did a survey on Twitter, and I asked people, on Twitch, why do you sub to people? Is it to get emotes? Is it to have the streamer say, hey, thank you? Is it to whatever? 41% of the people, and there were about 1,000 people that responded, 41% of people said to get rid of ads. The reason I sub on Twitch is to get rid of ads. And Kick doesn't have ads. And so I think that is a huge component of why there are probably fewer subs going out. And then this ties in, okay, so how else can you, if not ads, because you said it's going to be a year and a half or so till you have them on the platform, how can Kick incentivize people to subscribe to streamers when almost half of people are subscribing just to get rid of ads? Twitch has kind of they've created a problem for viewers, ads, which are annoying and nobody likes, and then they are selling the solution to the problem that they've created that they profit from.
Bullets and band-aids, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's, this is like modern game design 101. Every video game does this, whatever, but it makes money. And so it's like, are there any ideas you guys have to incentivize? How can we get people to sub? How can we get people to support streamers beyond the Kick Creator Program? How can we get people subbing?
So it's interesting, right? I think, yeah, it is a great point. I think to that note, though, I think the one thing that Kick has a little bit better is the gifting sub culture. I think just simply due to the fact of the 95.5 and the type of creators it also attracts because of that, there is a huge gifting sub culture. I think, the direct subscriptions is certainly far less. I think that's a given. But the gifting subculture is actually doing quite well. I think just in terms of the general revenue people get, I think people are ultimately, if you're giving someone, say, $500 in gifted subs, right? And you know that 500 of that dollars, or sorry, 475 of that dollars is going to the creator, you're more likely to do that than, say, if you're only 250 is going to them, right? It's got double the impact. So I think, on the back of that, I think our gifting culture is really strong. It is really strong. I think the direct subscriptions, like you said, we don't have a problem so much to solve. With that being said as well, I think a lot of people, if they are looking to get rid of advertisements and they're willing to pay $5 for it, why they wouldn't just buy like the turbo or the special mode that removes the ads. So I'm still not fully convinced on that, but creating a problem and then selling a solution, I get it. And I think we will have ads at some point, and giving people that opportunity. I think it really comes down to the streamer, though. I think it's really up to streamers to get creative in terms of how to add in the incentives for subscribing, right? I think obviously there's the badges, there is of course the emotes and stuff like that. That only goes so far. I think people who do a great job at attracting a lot of subs, especially on Kick, and there is, I think my camera's frozen. The people who do a great job of attracting subs on Kick, I think they really sort of lean into how to maximize that, right? And I guess that's kind of up to you if that's something you're interested in doing. But yeah, I think with that being said, I think there certainly is room for us to create more incentive. I don't have the answer for you. I think we've thought about this a lot. Outside of actually just adding an inconvenience for people, it's quite hard, right? I do think by not having those intrusive ads and hopefully encouraging a better viewer experience and hopefully retaining people longer, the amount of people that either just gift subs or directly sub or just support you in general should hopefully outweigh that. But it's a great point. It's a great point, and I think that there needs to be more reasons to subscribe. I think we're even talking about this. I think about like 8 or 9 hours, right, Andrew? Like, how can we incentivize people to obviously get more engaged into that actual sort of spending culture and supporting creators? Obviously, Kick doesn't make any money off people spending money, right? We don't make anything off that. But obviously, when people make more money, they're going to use the platform more. So we want to get people spending money and supporting our creators. And how we can help enable that through other features, how we can help enable that through any means possible. I think a big one's going to be Kicks. So Kicks will be our variation of Bits, right? And something that's currently being kind of scoped out and worked on at the moment. I think that's going to be game changer because there's never been a platform that's actually had no commission on it. I think obviously when you purchase Bits, you get charged a fee. When you cash them out, you get charged another fee. And once everything's said and done, there's only kind of cents on the dollar left, right? So people don't really utilize that. So I think creating a really strong opportunity for people to directly send amount of currency, whether that's $1, whether that's say $10,000 through the platform seamlessly without a massive commission being taken, I think is going to be revolutionary for the streaming space because it's been quite hard to do that. Obviously there's PayPal, there's some other methods, but they're quite difficult. There's chargebacks, there's a lot of friction involved in doing that. So I think that's where we're hopefully going to, even the playing field and try to get people earning money through those direct, whether it's subscriptions, gifted subs, or hopefully the variation of Kicks. And I think that's where, super excited to see the outcome of that when you impose this, this culture of sending people, whether it's donations essentially, but without that added cost of, the platform taking a massive cut. So I think that's where we can catch up a bit.
Just to add a little bit more to that, I think us coming up with the way we do our own packages, our own version of Turbo is going to help also, like reimagining what those packages might look like to incentivize the viewer beyond just removing ads, whether it's the viewing experience or things like a Giga Chat that we've talked about in the past, other ways, other payment options other than Stripe that we want to bring to the platform. I think that we've been talking about things like this, Stay Safe, in many different Kick Talks. I think what it's important for your community to realize is that we've had to hit the reset button on our tech side and get our tech straight because we came out swinging, man. We came out, I think 3 months in, we had 10 million people on the platform and we were just like throwing out features and we were building. And we built a little too fast. So one thing that we talk about a lot is just getting the product up to speed and then us being able to build in confidence out things like, Kicks or other payment options or presenting our own version of what a turbo might look like, right? But I think the key thing for me when I'm talking internally is like reimagining what advertising looks like, reimagining what a turbo package might look like. Like I push back on advertisers a lot when we talk internally. I'm just kind of like, you guys don't even know the difference between a viewer and an embedded post and a unique chatter, and why user generated content might be the metric that you guys want to be looking at in terms of your ROI. And it blows their mind where they're just like, well, viewers in, viewers out. I'm just like, no, those are, on a lot of platforms, those are inflated viewers. My point is that I think it's going to be really tough to have media buyers be educated in the space. They need to educate themselves in the live streaming space because I don't think like 60% of them know what they're actually purchasing because they just go in on the back end of a website and they just purchase, and it's just a roadblock of ads across multiple platforms, right? But live streaming is very, very different. Also, I think that advertisers need to start looking at AI ads, right? Non-intrusive ads. Be more open to, not buying a roadblock of 3-minute ads that separate the streamer from the creator, right? So I think that once we get the tech up to par, being able to sit down and reimagine how a lot of these things play out is something that I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah, there's a There's a YouTuber and a streamer. His name is Devin Nash. I'm sure you guys are probably aware of him, and he'll talk a lot about this, advertising game with live streams and how it's really just not super effective. It's not super profitable, and so this is very very intelligent of you guys. If you can double the click through rate or the activation rate of ads on Kick versus ads on Twitch, then it's like, yeah, then that really sets you guys apart from a website like Twitch, because yeah, it's really difficult for advertisers to kind of know what they're getting with live streams, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big part is reimagining sort of advertising on user generated content, especially live streams. I think YouTube's done a great job at advertising on VODs. I think they've got that down pat, but I think live streams has a different way in which you can really embed ads and make it much more efficient. I think live streaming is so unique because you have people's full attention for hours and hours and hours. Like that's unheard of in any other form of media. And how you can leverage that into a different form of like advertisement, there's some real big opportunities out there. So, I think a lot of our, the big, coming back to kind of what the thesis of how we can sort of do better and create a general, unit economics that makes sense for the future to take on the incumbents in the industry is through reimagining that. And that's a big play that we're looking forward to doing. And again, that's probably, another reason why we're taking our time with ads, because it needs to be done right. Because at the moment, I'm 100% sure it's not being done right, and it can be done better. That's for sure.
Going back to ways that Kick can incentivize fresh kind of tier one subscribers, not gifted subs, but individual subscribers. Well, I mean, I guess also gifted subs in that regard. But this is an idea that I had talked about on my stream with my viewers, and I suppose that Santa Maria was lurking because he got a clip and sent it and said, hey, I think that's a good idea, is having some type of Patreon style unlockable content feed below every streamer's stream itself, where if you sub, then you get access to my exclusive content. And it could be a blog post or picture or an exclusive video or, whatever. And because I notice both on Twitch and Kick, a lot of streamers, sort of their purpose maybe is to redirect people off of Kick or Twitch onto their Patreon or onto their maybe similar websites. And so maybe, integrating some of that content just onto the website itself. And I'm not saying it has to be, pornographic content, but like there's all types of stuff, exclusive content that streamers could make for their viewers. I think that's a carrot that streamers could dangle in front of their viewers and say, hey, listen, if you tier one sub, then I uploaded an exclusive video talking about how to farm gold in World of Warcraft, and it's only for my subscribers. Whatever it is. I think that would be a good idea, but is that something you guys have thought about?
We've spoken about it a bit. I think there's one thing we got to be a little bit careful of. And again, I think it's an incredible idea. I was going to preface the incredible idea, but with live streaming, you've got to be live streaming first. You can't be anything but live streaming first. The moment you start becoming something else, I think that's when the community can start to get a little bit lopsided. Like I think YouTube's a great example, right? YouTube's got live streaming. YouTube's huge with live streaming, right? But they're not live streaming first, and subsequently live streaming gets kind of drowned out in the rest of the kind of the community, right? It's not as it's not as prominent, despite having much more hours watched. It's almost invisible. And there's other websites as well that have live streaming, TikTok, etc. But it's drowned out in terms of what happens. And I think being live streaming first is incredibly important to maintain that. So when you start diluting the product and having like a whole bunch of other aspects to it, it is a risk. It's certainly a risk. I think you want to be very careful of having too many bells and whistles, too many things going on. But I think that's, again, it's how you integrate it. So, the Patreon style concept of having access through a gifted sub, that there is simple. You've already got the gifted sub. You've got the tier one sub, technology there. You've got people already subscribing. You're giving them a reason. Sure, that just means maybe an extra sort of accessibility under the about page or another page like that. I think you could have a really seamless and simple integration that can essentially aim to achieve that, right? I think there's ways forward. I think the key is simplicity. I think it's something in which if you want to engage in that kind of content, if you want to engage in that feature, that's up to the streamer, that's up to the content creator, that's up to their communities if they want to push for it. But it should be like kind of an opt-in. I don't think the platform should revolve around that. Otherwise, it loses that kind of streaming first mentality. Suddenly, if everyone on the platform is just pushing people to their exclusive content and not actually giving their streams 100% because they don't want people to see what they're all about, that's when it gets worrying. But again, that's just going to happen off platform anyway. So it's certainly a super valid point. I think we can find something that could make a lot of sense. That's been discussed a lot. The Patreon example has been discussed a lot. I think that's a great match, and I think that there's something we can do. It's just about the execution. I think executing that in a way which can really hit home hard and create that unique selling point for Kick when it comes to competition right now. I think that's something we can pull off. And yeah, like you said, otherwise it's just going off platform, right? So how do we bring that in? How do we bring that in, but at the same time remain live streaming first?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It's how you integrate it. Like in my mind, how if you're on somebody's channel page, it says clips, VODs, about me section, whatever. And maybe there's another section for exclusive content or subscriber content that's paywalled. In my mind, I don't really think that having some type of Patreon paywalled feed put in front of viewers that way is really different than having exclusive badges, exclusive sub badges, or exclusive emotes. It's something you get exclusively for subs, and that's it. But yeah, I think you're totally right. Where some streamers could totally go overboard with it. Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
but your point is valid in terms of, I mean, it's no secret, like, places like Patreon, OnlyFans, I mean, they generate bonkers amount of money off platform, right? They drive bonkers amount of traffic off platform. I think that your sentiment in keeping people within the platform is valid, right? I think that I think that you're always wanting to keep people on platform. This is why certain categories get the love that they do, because they have higher viewership than other categories. I think the average streamer, the average good streamer does like maybe 5 minutes of retention, right? I mean, once you start getting into 10, 15, 20, 40 minutes of retention, then you're really cooking with gas. But it's really hard for streamers to like not have people click away from their stream as soon as they jump in. Like how do you retain an audience, Matt? Like how have you seen people's you reducing people's click-through rate when they come through on your channel?
One thing that I really struggled with early as a streamer a long time ago was I realized if I ever have 15 seconds of awkward silence where I'm not speaking on my stream, if that's when somebody tunes in and their first impression is me sitting there for 15 seconds not saying anything, it's like, well, this guy's boring, I'm leaving, goodbye. And so you have to just be a jabberbox. You're just talking, and because you never know when someone new is going to tune in, and it is difficult. It's a difficult skill, and I think everybody struggles with it. This is something that YouTube does that I you mentioned click-through rate, and my mind goes to YouTube, okay, because I'm uploading YouTube videos every day, and it's like it's all about the thumbnail. It's the title and it's the thumbnail. How do you get people to click on the video? It's like 99% thumbnail, title, and then the content is like kind of secondary, right? You need to get people to click first and foremost. And so what YouTube has done with their live streams is they allow streamers to have thumbnails for their live stream. So imagine you're scrolling through Kick, and every streamer, rather than having like a little time, what I don't even know what to call it, like a snippet of what's going on in the stream, they have a thumbnail. I personally think that's really jarring and grating. I don't think that's a good idea. YouTube has done that, but I don't know if there's any like data or research to indicate whether or not it works or it doesn't work. Maybe you need to be aware. Maybe my opinion is not the popular opinion. Maybe people really do like it. But is that something that you guys have considered? Are thumbnails on Kick?
Yeah. I don't know. I think thumbnails on live streams. I obviously get it for VODs, right? Like VODs make sense. You obviously can't sort of randomize a thumbnail for a VOD. I guess YouTube used to do that, and people kind of figured out how to get around it, and that's how the thumbnails came to be. But But yeah, on live streams, I don't know. I think it's a big part about live streaming culture, right? Is you can kind of understand what people are up to by looking at that thumbnail, right? Like if someone's IRL streaming, you want to see
Yeah.
where they're at. If someone's playing a game and you want to kind of know what they're doing within the game, I think that thumbnail is really important for identifying, where they're at. Maybe it's a thumbnail where if you hover over on top of it, it starts playing like a few sort of bits of the live stream or the most recent area. That could be kind of cool, I think, maybe. But then I think unfortunately people just end up creating the most like clickbaity stuff possible. So it's maybe it's something to test out. It can I do think a big component of live streaming though is being able to know where the moment is, right? When you're live streaming, you're capturing like the whole entire journey. Whether it's you're on WoW, right, and you're completing a certain aspect of the game that people want to tune in for. That thumbnail represents where you're up to and whether you want to tune in or not. So I think taking that away could be a little bit dangerous. But it's a great idea to explore with it. I think there is a couple of other live stream platforms that allow you to set thumbnails, and I've seen it work. But yeah, we could certainly experiment with that. That's for sure. Maybe run some sort of A/B tests and see how people like it. But yeah, it definitely a unique take. I think for live streaming at least. I guess YouTube just follows that same format. Just because of how they operate VODs probably, or maybe they've got some research behind it that determines that it's just far better for attracting viewers and retaining them. Right. That's the core metric, a really important KPI for us.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not particularly a fan of the streamer thumbnail meta. And I think you're right, it does devolve into clickbait. I remember this is like a couple years. I think they have since fixed this or changed the terms of service. But a couple years ago on YouTube, if you were trying to watch a Minecraft stream, for instance, it would be like a Minecraft character with big Minecraft boobs. And that was the meta, was for your Minecraft stream, your thumbnail is a Minecraft character with big block boobs. And it's like, I guess it gets people to click on the stream, but it's like, this is just ridiculous. This is the stupidest thing in the world. And that is what it becomes. It just becomes clickbait. So I'm not a fan, but yeah, I guess YouTube has determined, because they've been doing it for years. I guess they determined that it's the way to go for them.
Yeah, no, I guess definitely on VODs, right? On VODs, right? If you just got a random frame, it's not going to represent the video. It could end up representing the wrong stuff, and then people end up creating content based around that where that frame lies. So I get that, but live streaming, I'm a little less sold on. But who knows? Who knows? I think it's just about we got the data, we can test it, run it, and see what runs better. That's for sure.
One thing that might be interesting is exploring thumbnails around clips. Like I think,
yeah, that's a good
a
point.
lot of
with VODs,
I think a lot
especially VODs, definitely, but yeah, clips actually as well, right? You're good point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with clips, everyone relies on the headline, right? Like they clip it, they have some like inflammatory headline, you click on it, right? But if you have an inflammatory headline with a catchy thumbnail, then I wonder what that does for the clip game,
Yeah, I guess that also helps to indicate like, hey, look, this clip here is given like special attention by the creator. That it's obviously a special moment, because there's a lot of clips on a lot of channels which sometimes don't have too much relevance, and it kind of just gets sort of stacked away in the back. But being able to kind of go, hey, hold on, this one here is something I want to focus on. It can kind of help people understand, hey, look, these ones are worth clicking through. Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is a total pivot away from thumbnails, but something that I super wanted to talk about. First off, I'll say I think the way that you guys handled the RuneScape category, where you didn't just try to go after one streamer, you went after a group, like 4, 5, or 6 different RuneScape streamers to bring over the entire community of that category, I think is a super smart thing. This is what I've gathered from speaking to various streamers that are still on Twitch, is that most streamers are very, very social butterfly type of people. They like to feel like they're a part of a community. They like to have people hosting and be part of a network, right? And so I think what I have noticed is that one of the biggest hangups with people trying to come over to Kick is that they feel like they're kind of coming into an isolation chamber, that I don't want to be the only streamer in the WoW section. I don't want to be the only streamer in the Fortnites or whatever, insert random section. And so is this something you guys have thought about or considered? How can we possibly get, rather than one person coming over in a section, how can we get 5 people to come together kind of at the same time to build out the section, so they're hosting and there's the entire community, there's the network there?
Yeah, no, I think the old school RuneScape section, I think, was a really great, I guess experiment, I guess if you could call it that, or proof of concept where I think, good portion of the category moved over. I think that's because the vast majority of those creators were kind of represented by the same agency. So it was actually a really easy switch to move because it was kind of working with one team. So we could kind of bring them all over at once and broker a deal there. Back to our discussion about kind of contracts versus KCIP. I think when the time came to kind of go, hold on a second, we want to move away from the contract model to the KCIP model. A lot of them unfortunately didn't want to, take that change, which is fair enough. It's their call. I think the ones that did stay around realized the KCIP is pretty sweet. So, hoping that kind of continues that trend. But yeah, I think if you can create that atmosphere, you can create that category, you can create that sense of community right off the bat, it makes a world of difference, right? Because you're suddenly not just streaming by yourself. I think that's why Twitch has done such a good job. We talk about live streaming first. It has been a live streaming first community. You know everyone in the category. You understand who's who in the zoo. You suddenly become friends with people. You know who's your competition, and there's some really interesting stuff that comes out of having these really full and active categories. And yeah. Kick is it doesn't have that. Not at the same level, at least. I think there are some sections that are very healthy. There are some sections that have great communities, even in the English speaking market as well. But it's nowhere near that sort of level as Twitch, right? And I think that's what we aspire to be. But I think, naturally that stuff takes time though. I think, you try to rush it too heavily. If you go to a category and try to take it over, then all the streamers start going, wow, Kick's trying to, bring us all over. Let's increase our prices. I'll tell you what, streaming's an interesting world, It's like everyone's very savvy, right? They're all out for they're all out to make money. They're all out to kind of understand what's going on. Everyone talks to each other. If we go to everyone and say we'll take the Fortnite section, suddenly everyone goes, nah, I want this much. They go, this person's getting that. It's one thing we've learned is it's not as easy as kind of walking into a section and just being like, guys, come on over. The dynamics of streaming are complicated, so I think, it's more so just about giving things time, right? You have to give it time. You have to let people realize, hold on a second, like you have, right? You've come over and you've been like, wait a second, shit, this is actually not too bad. I'm making, X amount more than I am over there. And subsequently it's worth it for the fact that I don't have to work on it, walk on eggshells. I think everyone has to come to that realization themselves. All we can do is supply the tools, we can supply the technology, we can supply the programs. But in a sense of bringing people over, I think that kind of, aggressive approach of being like, come to Kick, we need you, come. It creates the wrong mentality. And I think it also attracts the wrong people. I think the healthiest transition from, say, another platform to Kick is when someone chooses to do it on their own behalf and when they choose to do it because they've heard great things about the platform. So it's kind of that new sort of lease on how we view the streaming world now. I think when Kick first opened, it was like, we want this guy, we'll take them all, we'll move as quickly as we can, we'll offer them insane whatever contracts. But now it's really about, helping to bring those categories over, but through the organic word of mouth, right? And hopefully you can help us with that World of Warcraft section, if you're able to kind of, tell a few people out there, hey, this is what's good over on this side and give them some firsthand experience and maybe help fast track a few of them. That'd be great. And that there is a healthy conversion, right? That's you speaking from your own personal experience as a very, well-known person in that World of Warcraft section saying, hey, look, Kick's better. And then, I think that's when, you end up getting this snowball effect. And that's what I hope ends up happening. I really do. But I think unfortunately trying to fast track this stuff, trying to force this stuff to happen overnight just doesn't create healthy communities. That's one thing I think we've learned is you have to give it time. It has to be organic.
Yeah, otherwise you're playing poker with thousands of creators, right? Where everyone's trying to hang on to their hand, right? And trying to make the best play. But what I think KCIP has done is just try it out, jump in, and you're gonna find out real fast. It's just a good deal. It's just a good program. There's everyone put down your negotiating hat and just realize this is a fair day, a more than adequate fair day's pay for a fair day's worth of work, right? And us researching the market and figuring out to stay competitive in that pay, it's all by design. It's by design for a guy like you to bring over their community and start realizing, wait a minute, this is actually a pretty good, sweet effing deal, right? And then rather than bringing over the entire WoW community and you guys, pointing fingers at each other and seeing who's got what or what's what. I think a good example of something like this is what you're seeing in esports, especially in the Twitch space, right? Like I, every esports team and org has a different contract or negotiated rate or deal, where now the esports space is just completely eating itself alive because everyone's jockeying for this weird position that subsequently is being, that platform's turning their back on a space like that, but if we just created an environment where, man, you're just doing good work, you're creating good content, you should get paid adequately for that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if I'm going to be brutally honest, I think the single biggest issue with Kick right now is an information issue, and it's an optics issue. Like I said earlier, if I'm scrolling Twitter or I'm talking to people, the narrative is, Kick is imploding, or it's like, hey, did you hear what that crazy degenerate Kick streamer did? Right? And it's like, hold up, if you really sit here and think about it, for every one crazy Kick streamer, there's like 5 or 6 crazy Twitch streamers. Every week there's new Twitch drama where somebody does something reprehensible or crazy or psychotic or whatever. And regardless, the narrative persists that there are no crazy people on Twitch and all of the crazy degenerates are on Kick. And it's like, this is just not the case, right? And then there's also, so it's that, and I think that narrative has to be combated. It has to be corrected. Kick is not as unhinged and degenerate as everybody says it is, and this narrative feels a little bit fake. It feels a little bit astroturfed. It feels like it doesn't really feel natural. It feels like it's being pushed or forced. That's my outside inference. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that. So there's that. The second component is, fact of the matter is, streamers are making more money on Kick. I give my testimony. I think most people would probably say that. But, nobody knows that. Or very few people know that. Only the people that are actively streaming on Kick know that, right? And so if that's the carrot that's being dangled in front of streamers, hey, come over here, you will make more money. I think people need to be kind of told or given, user testimony, like some sort of, I know you might say this is forced, but it's like some sort of, promotional piece that you guys put together where you have 10 different Kick streamers saying, hey, my name is StaySafe, I average this many viewers, and I'm getting paid this much from the Kick Creator Program, or I'm making this much more on Kick than I ever did on Twitch. And you have 10 different testimonies, right? And it's like a little highlight reel of that. Hey, I make this and I'm, whatever. Stuff like that. I just feel like all of the people are only hearing the negatives of Kick, and nobody is really hearing the positives. And so, like I said, I feel like it's an optics battle. I feel like it's an information battle.
Yeah, no, I think from our side, maybe, yeah, it's about figuring out how to kind of market it in the right way, how to get behind that correct messaging. And I love that idea, right? Testimonials, they go hard, especially when you can add testimonials from people like yourself, other streamers out there that are well known and trusted in a sense. That's a real true testimonial, and that carries weight. But yeah, I think it's about getting on the front foot in terms of how do we try to fight, because it does sometimes feel like, hey, look, there is a whole bunch of misinformation out there, and it's an uphill battle, right? And how to change that, I'm not sure, right? I'm maybe naive in the sense that I assume just people don't fall for that stuff, but I guess unfortunately that's not how the world works nowadays, and when stuff does get spread around, people do take it on face value and they're like, oh shit, Kick's imploding. But we've had a fucking record year by 300%. It's been awesome, and we're on the up and up, and that's we're charging ahead. Again, I think it comes in trends, right? I think that's what the internet's all about. Is there's metas, right? People for a while, it was for a long time, people just wanted to shit on Twitch, right? But now people just want to shit on Kick. I think it just, the wheels turn, the narratives change, and I think you just got to go with the highs, you got to roll with the lows, you got to you got to take a few punches every now and again. I think if you try and fight back too heavy, again, you can almost seem like you're on the defensive at that point, or you can start stooping to levels which are quite low, which I don't think, again, we want to involve in. But yeah, I think fixing the optics is important. I think Kick has undergone changes in moderation. I think we lent in very, very heavily to allowing IRL content, right? IRL content was a big selling point for us. We're like, okay, cool. We're going to let IRL content go, insane. And we quickly learned that on the back of that, there is some damage that can be done to the reputation. We're still huge supporters of IRL content. We love IRL content. We're going to support it no matter what. But we've had to change our stance in what's accepted and what's not accepted, simply on the back of the fact that it wasn't fair to other streamers who were making incredibly wholesome content, who were getting sort of, botched together or put in the same bucket as some streamers that were causing negative headlines. And we had to understand that was a problem. So we did change our moderation a lot. And some people have been quite disgruntled with that, which is fair enough. But at the same time, that was, again, to protect the brand reputation, to protect the optics, to protect the image, and subsequently make the platform a more appealing place for the masses, which, does hopefully impact in a positive way everybody. So there is a lot of balance there, and I think we certainly have room to start marketing the whole platform a bit differently. I think there's room to start certainly chalking up the wins. I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we celebrate the simple facts that, hey, look, you're gonna get way more from here. I think we don't celebrate the fact that we're not literally just like taking every opportunity to make more money off people. We're doing the opposite, right? And I think people are so quick to want to fault us, right? Despite, when you kind of zoom out, you're like, wait a second, these guys they're not too bad. They're kind of the good guys. I like to think, if there was kind of a good and evil out there, like Kick lands on the good side, man. Like, I don't know why people want to tear it down, but I feel like that's just seems to be the situation right now. But hey, look, like I said, you got to roll with the punches sometimes. You got to get kicked whilst you're down. It's all right. And I think, giving things enough time, showing consistency, I think, wearing and remaining true to yourself over time, people will realize, what we're all about. And I think that's, again, it's just, it is that consistency and continuing to do what we do best and continuing to stick to our guns is what's going to change that narrative over time.
Yeah. This comes to mind. This was about a year ago when Twitch changed when Twitch changed its subscriber pay rates. Okay, and so people were kind of making less money with subs on Twitch. I feel like everywhere I went, there was some comment from the official Kick account on Twitter, promoting the 95-5 split. So whoever was spamming the 95-5 thing at the time that Twitch was promising less money to streamers, it's like that constant reminder of here's why Kick is better. Kick is better. Kick, you're gonna make more money. I feel like that constantly being put in front of you is super, super impactful. That really hammers it home. And it doesn't have to be necessarily like shitting on the competition. It's just promoting how good you are, right?
You had a clip the other day with your audience where you simply said, like, if I was Kick, I would never shut the fuck up about KCIP. And at one point we never shut the fuck up about 95.5. I mean, literally, like, I think for the first 7 months, I would walk into meetings or I'd go into a chat or something like that, and immediately 95.5 would always be the topic of discussion and how it's a giant game changer. I think KCIP is a massive game changer. It just hasn't had its homecoming yet. So I do agree with your sentiment around, like, even in Stockholm, like when we were at DreamHack, there was a lot. We had a big KCIP banner of showing how much we've paid out to creators via KCIP, and there were people who were just their jaw dropped, right? But to your point, like we should be tweeting that out 3 times a week, right? We should be sharing clips or testimonials of people's stuff, like 3 times a week about KCIP, and being proud of it, because I think it is an amazing program.
I'm a very big believer in the power of shitposting and meme magic, whatever you want to call it. I really think that just like having I'm not aggressive, but like constant meme campaigns or shitposting I think it really does leave an impact, and I think it helps sell a point. I think it does hammer it home. I really do. Because like I said, right,
we need to get involved in that. Yeah.
Memetic warfare. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no, because
it's a great
like
point.
I said,
great point. I think we need to lean into it more. Maybe we're being too relaxed and just thinking, oh yeah, we'll let time solve it. Maybe we need to start really tooting our own horn and saying, hey, look, this is what it's all about. Because we just don't engage with all the big aspect of Kick was like, okay, let's stop trying to lean in and take like everything from Twitch. Let's try to lean into like a new area of live streaming. Like I think you mentioned this at the very beginning of the conversation, right? You said like Kick is actually attracting new viewers outside of like Twitch, and that's our big goal, right? I think if we just want to go there and say, hey, look, we want what Twitch has, that's not really a healthy mindset to have. We want to go like, how do we grow the whole live streaming space? So on the back of that, we'll start focusing our marketing and the way that we present ourselves, not so much at like, hey, look, you're a streamer over here, come to us. It's more like, hey, look, we're a streaming platform, come and stream because streaming is great. But maybe we have to revisit that, and maybe we have to go, hold on, this is business. This is a matter of taking market share, not just gaining market share from or creating market share rather. Maybe we need to go back to basics, and that's what Kick was founded on, right? It was poking 95.5 at Twitch, right? And it was a pretty good way to poke the bear. It certainly made some damage. So maybe, back to basics, back to simply just, shit posting and saying, hey, look, at the end of the day, this is what you get. This is what a day's worth of work looks like here, and this is what a day's worth of work looks like here. And it's about comparison. So I'll take this fully on board. It means a lot coming from you, from, so kind of, I guess, relatively outside now inside perspective of the two products.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it again, like because I will still sometimes stream on Twitch, maybe once a week now, and if I'm over on Twitch and I'm talking about Kick, it's like, oh, isn't that where all the freaks stream? Isn't that where all the degenerates? There's always crazy stuff. I feel like I only hear about crazy stuff over there, and it's like, not really, not really. That's just kind of not the case. And so I do feel like that narrative really needs to be combated aggressively. It has to be fought constantly, and not just like fought and debunked, but all the positive, super cool stuff going on Kick should be hyper promoted and talked about, and not just monetary stuff, but also if you have some super nice streamer, not me, I'm not so nice, but if you've got a nice streamer that does something nice and wholesome, plug it, post it, stuff like that. Show that, hey, actually there are nice people that are on Kick,
Yeah. All right. I've got some ideas going. I think very valuable perception. Yeah. I think we can do more. I think we can do more to cure that. And I think ultimately that comes down to, it helps people like you, right? I think if we go out there and start, voicing things more and start, fighting back a little bit, or at least trying to sort of lean into how we can shape that narrative more than just kind of accepting the fact that, hey, look, this may be a trend at the moment. I guess what that helps you bring more viewers over, that helps you change that narrative, that helps other people, gain a bigger traction. So, maybe it is our duty to go out there and be more proactive. So, I think I hear you loud and clear on that. I think, there is a way to change that, because I definitely, I think the thing that hurts me the most sometimes is when people, do sometimes feel like they're categorized incorrectly for streaming on Kick because they have seen this crazy headline from 9 months ago or 3 months ago or 6 months ago that implies like this place is no good, right? Because you mentioned this before, for every bad person on Kick, there's like 1,000 bad people on other social media platforms too. But I think the Kick one gets highlighted a lot more just due to the kind of the situation of that kind of information processing that we're currently in right now. So I think, it's about kind of like saying, hold on a second, for every person who streams something bad over here, there's actually like 1,000 great streamers doing really cool stuff. Or they're out there, making great content, which we should, go to highlight.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like crazy, but like it is. I'm gonna sound crazy. Fuck it, I'm gonna sound crazy. The amount of like, I don't know, like mischaracterizing what it's like on Kick and all the crazy stuff that happens on Kick. It's so disproportionate. You know what I mean? It's like, why are there so many people seemingly just like praying and hoping for the downfall of Kick? What's going on here? It doesn't seem natural. It seems very, very weird. It seems totally disproportionate to what's actually happening on Kick, because it's not really happening that much.
This is my take, and I've said this a lot, it's just old man shaking fists at clouds. It's the live streaming and audience maturing, man. It is Kick coming in and changing the game, and this isn't how my live streaming is. This isn't like, look, Spotify didn't kill off MTV, right? They just did music very differently. right? And I think that it's just going to take time for people who are growing out of a Nickelodeon mindset, right, and crossing over into a more mature HBO mindset to come over to Kick, right? It's I think it's a maturation of the, I've said this before, the people who watch Justin TV with a juice box in their hand, they're watching Kick with a craft beer in their hand, right? Like, you guys are starting to have kids and you're worried about a 401k and you got a fucking mortgage to pay, and your family's getting doxxed, and like you didn't face these things when you were single on your own, just streaming, right? So my whole point in saying all of this is that I think you're just witnessing the old guard really trying to hang on. And I agree with you, man. Like, man, there were times when there was like a flurry of new streamers that were coming on and bashing or trying to do things around. I'm like, I think this is a coordinated effort from other platforms, right? I think the Serto's going a little too hard on the Kick streamer does X, Y, and Z. I think Drama Alert or Fearbuck or Scuba Ryan are being a little too opportunistic in throwing around
Well,
Kick streamer, right? So my whole
that
point
phrase
and everything,
kick streamer, it's always kick streamer does something crazy, right? And it's like, what's going on here?
yeah, and we combat that. But my whole overall point is that I think that the more that you're seeing that is the more of the throes of the old school thinking around live streaming that you're seeing. And it's going to take a lot more of that to keep pressing and evolving the live streaming space. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. And so, having streamed a lot on both websites now, more so on Twitch, for years and years, but now I'm on Kick predominantly. I will tell you, in 9 out of 10 categories, it's better to be on Kick. Okay, I think the one category where it's not, it's like you're lacking some analytic stuff on the back end, on the streamer dashboard, the mobile app. Okay, you guys know this stuff, but it's like the money you can make, the vibe, the moderation. It pretty much just seems better over here, right? And so, like I said, the problem is not the platform itself. The problem is the optics of the platform, right? The problem is the perception of the platform, and that's the real difficult part. And that's very difficult. And I think, by the way, you guys have been doing a good job. You guys have been growing, and Twitch has been declining. So you're obviously you're doing it right. I guess it's like, do you want to do it right faster, or I don't know, but Twitch has, like we talked about earlier, in the last 2 years, Twitch has lost 10% of its viewer base, and Kick has gone from 0 viewers to, what did you say, 300 and something thousand, which is about 12% or 13% of what Twitch has at the moment, right? So Twitch is declining, and Kick is growing. That's just the fact. So to your point, people slowly are realizing that, hey, Kick is not insane. Kick is a better place to be. There's no ad from the viewer point of view. There are no ads from the streamer point of view. I'm making more money, whatever. But it's like, people just need to realize that it's better, both viewers and streamers.
Yeah, I think that takes time. I think a lot of our approaches in the past, I think, have been contradictory to a lot of what we should have been doing. I think we made some mistakes in terms of like what audiences we targeted, what streamers we targeted. And I think, a lot of this now has to come back to, like, again, that organic growth, that organic perception around how we grow the platform, rather than trying to fast track it too fast. So I think it really comes down to moving slowly. I think it's more about going slowly, having the right incentives in place, having, at the end of the day, the best product for viewers, the best product for streamers, and just, allowing people to make their decision up themselves. And I think ultimately the optics should change given enough time. I think nothing of substance has changed, right? That's the thing. You zoom out for a second, and from a substance perspective, Kick has not changed. We haven't changed our revenue splits. We haven't decreased KCIP payments. We haven't gone ahead and started advertising on crazy amounts and not giving you a fair share of it or anything of such. Nothing has changed. It's still an extremely great offer that is both centric to the viewer, centric to the streamers, and does so much more for anyone than any other platform, right? And that hasn't changed. But I think getting over that hump in terms of optics and what's driving those optics is going to be huge. And I think once it does, change and people go, hold on a second, Kick, that's the place that is actually, doing their damn best to support creators, to support viewers, then I think that's when it starts to go uphill again. So I think the fast track that though, there's certainly some small wins we can get out there.
I'm about to totally knee jerk the conversation or whiplash the conversation back to a different topic, so I apologize about that. But this is going back to the moderation component of Kick. I know that Eddie, you have a old school RuneScape background, right? That's kind of how you got your that's your origin story is RuneScape, right?
Yeah.
So in old school RuneScape, they have these player moderators where Jagex picks people that can help enforce and moderate and report people and silence people. Is that something you guys have considered with handling bans or suspensions, is having streamers on Kick involved in kind of deciding what's too far, what's not too far, and then it adds some community transparency a little bit, maybe?
That's a good point. So we do have a similar program. It's called Sidekicks. There's, I think, a little over 30 at the moment. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. Sidekicks, which primarily right now help out with like Spanish market, Arabic market, Turkish market, German, French, the non-English speaking markets. And they're doing a great job at helping that. But, expanding that out to streamers and adding a level of transparency into the moderation process could be great. I'll be honest with you, the perfect moderation process for us is one where there really isn't opinions, right? Like we have our community guidelines and you're either in breach of them or you're not in breach of them. Like that's how ideally it should work. You breach the community guidelines, then you receive, say, if it's your first ban, a 3-day ban. If it's your second ban, a 7-day ban. If it's your third ban, it's a 30-day ban. And then that's how it works. There is very little decision making. Like it should be black or white, right? That's ideal world. Obviously, it's never that simple and it does get more complicated, but keeping it kind of, it's either against the community guidelines or not against the community guidelines is the ideal world. And we try our best to do that. The moderation team, it's process driven, right? And a lot of the time the moderation team, because it's process driven, does stuff that I may disagree with, but that's good. That's good because they're following the process. They're following the guidelines. They're following the rules. We have rules and we stick to the rules. And I think that's the best way to go about things. I think when you have too many opinions and too many people saying, hold on, I think this, I think that, it can get a little bit dangerous. And I think that's when favoritism comes into play. I think that's when, second standards, double standards rather, comes into play. So it's a little bit, we're trying to actually move away from this model of like saying, I think that was one of your first questions, like how does moderation look like in Kick? Right now the moderation really is a process. It's a decision tree of, did this break this rule? No. Did it do this? Yes. Did it do that? Yes. And therefore we give a 3-day ban. Like we try to keep this stuff process driven, opposed to being sort of, specifically based upon certain people's beliefs and how they look at stuff. But then again, moderation in general isn't that simple. It always will have to have an element of opinion involved in it, and maybe that's where you bring in that kind of transparency to say streamers or to relatively vocal ambassadors that can come in, chime in, and be able to kind of give their opinion. So that could be really cool. I think any transparency we could add around our moderation process could be great. We kind of run our moderation process internally. We obviously use Slack, right? And it's a big tool that we use for documenting these things. We always assume, okay, run the moderation as if this is all going to get leaked out and hacked one day, right? Like run our moderation with the assumption that our whole Slack is going to be leaked on Twitter tomorrow. We want to make sure everything we do is by the book, is process driven, and it's not based upon opinions. And I think, we've seen some leaks recently of people acting not in that way. And it's funny because we'd been talking about this for like 12 months prior to that. Like it'd been an initiative that we'd had in place for a long, long time. And that's how we want to drive moderation. And it has to be process driven. And I think, the moment you steer away from that, you start end up having people banned with like you said, notes that say, do not unban unless you contact X, Y, and Z. Like that's where it becomes like no longer this place of moderation, but of playing favorites and picking sides and driving agendas, which is a very, 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 very complicated place to get into, right? It starts to cause all types of problems. So ultimately, sorry, to answer the question, I went off sidetrack a bit, but to answer the question, I think, we want to try to remove those opinions as much as possible, but I do think that there's a place where they can be super, super helpful at the same time.
Okay, that's really good. You kind of preemptively answered my next question. Something that Santa Maria said earlier today was like, left, right, whatever content, it's all allowed, but not if it's too extreme. And so the question is, okay, well, who decides what is too extreme? Do we know in advance where's the line? And then who decides where the line is, right? And that's always That's always the difficult part about moderation. I think on Twitch, the big problem people have is maybe not where the line is, but it's like the selective way in which the line is enforced on some people, but not other people. It's the hypocrisy, right, of the way the line is enforced on some people, but not others. And so that I know the Kick terms of service is public. We can all go read it. That decision making tree kind of that you mentioned, is that something that is public? Like, can we would it be possible for the community to take a look at your thought process behind the scenes to see, here's the check, here's the check, here's the check, or is that kind of secret information?
Yeah, I think we could, right? I think it's this process is derived in a way which, again, it's meant to at some point, yeah, become public. Maybe preemptively letting people understand what that looks like. Could be a way to kind of open the doors, make things seem more transparent. I think that's great. It could be a good play. Yeah, I don't see downside to it. I think it's all quite reasonable. It ultimately, yeah, comes down to whether this is it's quite simple, right? It really just comes down to whether this rule has been broken, and then for specific rules, there's more to answer for, right? I think some rules are very simple, right? Like, you some rules it's like, yep, that's over. And then some it gets a little bit more specific, and you have to go down a few layers, and you have to ask a few more questions, and you have to kind of, go a few more rungs deeper. So I think that's where it gets a little bit sensitive in a sense, because you start getting into topics that get a little bit more controversial. But heck, why not blow the lid off it? Why not say this is how it works? And then, maybe even when people are mapping out bans and going, hey, look, why did this guy get banned? They probably come to the same conclusion as we did because they follow that same process. So yeah, maybe that's a great idea. I never thought about that, but if that adds that layer of transparency, that could be cool, and maybe that would help people to understand. Hold on a second, how do I not get myself banned? Then again, the one thing I will counter that with is, unfortunately, with live streaming, this is the bit that we do find, right, is that, like, no matter how you set up your community guidelines or your rules, people are very, very smart. They're very, very clever at getting this close to the line, right? Like they know how to get as close to it as possible without crossing it, which unfortunately is like the scary and sad part about it all, is like, as you set a line that the people all just fight to get as close to it as possible, which is also dangerous because it creates not a positive culture almost, right? It creates this culture of like, how much can I do before I kind of hit that limit? So, publicizing how we kind of make those decisions could maybe just give people a bit more ammunition in terms of like how they can prove that, hey, well, hold on, I'm not across the line, kind of thing. So I just sort of caveating that with being plain devil's advocate, that is something to keep in mind. It's been an ongoing thing, I guess, since the beginning of live streaming, but yeah, it's a great point. It really is a great point.
Yeah, another thing that I would love to see is, because we have clips, we have screenshots, we share that with people, but I can't tell you how many times like someone gets banned or suspended, and then they go on social media and like totally have this different narrative of why they got banned or suspended to fit their narrative to make whatever platform look bad. Like, there's nothing in the world where there's been times in meetings where I look at it, I was just like, we should just post the clip of why they actually got banned. That way we just end this conversation here, because it's so egregious what had happened and so hard to get banned or suspended off a Kick, that this is what you actually did, good ma'am or good sir. And I think I would love to be able to do that. The other thing is that I think something that doesn't get talked enough about is like our appeals process. We have a very reasonable appeals process. Like, I can't tell you how many people will reach out to me and be like, I've been banned. And I'm like, did you appeal? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, so you just took to Twitter to bitch about it and get as many clicks as you can without actually taking an appeals process that we have in place, which is very, very reasonable, right? Where we will explain to you what the deal is, or we will reduce the ban, or we will point out like, listen, man, this is like the 20th time that you've been getting pegged for this, and something's not getting across. Like, we're much more reformative. So I'm to Eddie's point, like you have to go into every Slack message or Discord thread or whatever, assuming that it's going to get screenshotted, and feel comfortable standing behind it, where you're like, no, this is perfectly reasonable. It's beyond reasonable. our moderation strategy. The other thing is that I think something that doesn't get talked about enough is like our moderation team does not have does not care. I guess is what I'm saying. They're based, right. It's to Eddie's point, black and white, man. They do not start buying into the drama, the e-boy drama or the e-girl drama or groups going after each other, things of that nature. They are located in a part of the world, man, where like it's it's small time the kind of issues that are going on in live streaming to the point where it's just like this is highly unreasonable, and so it's the judgment of the moderation team is sometimes much more sound than people who are actually in it, right? And I think to end this point, I think that you were targeted in the past by people like in our sidekick program, right? That are too in it with the platform, that are too in it with this with the community, where they might hold some sway from a social aspect. None of our moderation team is like that. Our moderation team is so far removed from the streaming game where they can keep things really black and white.
Yeah, no, you raise a good concern with that. The idea I proposed about, community moderators or people giving input, that could totally backfire where there's bias being inserted. Let's say I'm the biased one and I'm on the moderation team now as a streamer and I don't like this other streamer that is, and I have to decide their fate. It's like, well, I don't like them, so I'm going to get them banned. That situation totally could happen where you have a bias, right? So I guess, yeah, no, that's a good counter argument. Try to keep your moderators totally disengaged. They do speak English though, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
They do?
the
Okay, that's good.
team, the moderation team's incredible. They're amazing. I think when saying that, I think the end of the day, these guys are following process. We changed the community guidelines. It's like, automation in that sense. It's like it comes down to raw decision making. The community guidelines are updated. Boom. That's how we're going to moderate it. It's not no longer. It's like this is what the guidelines are. This is what the rules are, and that's how it's going to look like, right? Of course, there is certain situations that get more complicated. Certain ones where it may be a streamer of a certain certain rule being broken where other people do need to chime in. Don't get me wrong, that is a situation. But I think to your point, you mentioned that before. Maybe your idea. Right, I think that could come into play with the appeal section, right? Let's say when someone's appealing, maybe that's where you have like this group of people involved that can kind of review the appeal. Because of course we've got that kind of first layer of defense, which our moderation team, which as Andrew says is quite process orientated. But sometimes process orientation can be bad. Sometimes being too process orientated, you can miss the context, you can miss the intention, right? There is situations whereby things can be done which aren't correct. So maybe that's where you bring in these certain people who have that ability to say, hold on a second, this is what I think about this appeal. Maybe the appeals process needs to be something that's more open to kind of having certain individuals involved. I think that's where it could get quite impactful, because I think, obviously giving everyone the option to kind of say, hey, look, I want this person banned, that can kind of get a little bit chaotic. But if there a way to kind of make that appeals process somewhat more transparent, with more opinions that lay outside of our world, outside of what can sometimes be a little bit of a bubble in how we think, and let streamers have that opinion, maybe that's where the gold lies.
Yeah, I think that's a great twist on it. I think it really is. I'm kind
One other
of
thing. Sorry, Matt. One other thing I want to add is like, I feel really good about where our moderation team is because we have so many different factions coming at us with pitchforks, right? Like, I guess what I'm saying is that when you start finding yourself in the echo chamber of people constantly agreeing with you, right? Like, I think that that's a red flag for me, right? I'm like, well, wait a minute. This group of people was a little way too happy about our moderation process. Like, but I think when you have a good, well-rounded group of like, you know, tight kick partners like coming down on you, or like really hardcore IRL streamers coming down on you, or really big time FPS players coming down on you about like I think that if you're getting enough opinion about a certain topic from certain people, like it prevents you from becoming one-sided or getting into this echo chamber. And I think like even sometimes our chat reflects that, man. Sometimes when I go live and chat, like I got everyone coming at me, and I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm kind of like, all right, this is a good balance of of folks who are disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are very you're really easing my mind about moderation, because as you know, this was kind of the intro to the conversation here. I recently had a bad run in with Twitch moderation, and it's like, first off, knowing the first hurdle is just like knowing why you got banned or why you got suspended on Twitch. Oftentimes they won't even tell you. Um, and then it's like, okay, is it fair or biased, or was the ban warranted? Then, but the first step is even knowing why the suspension went out. And so I guess the next two questions are, if someone gets suspended on Kick, do you do you always tell them why they were suspended? And then the next question is there any instance where somebody is getting suspended on Kick as a consequence of AI or an automated function, or is a human person always involved?
So yeah, AI will pick up a lot of ban reasons immediately. So I think stuff like violence, pornography, that kind of stuff. AI will kind of take the lead on and grab that. But outside of that, the very easy ones to jump onto. The rest will be always monitored and actioned by a human. Um, I in terms of kind of reasoning. I think that's a big thing that the Kick kind of has pioneered. Every time you do get banned, you will be supplied the evidence. If especially if you go and appeal it, if you go to appeals@kick.com because you say, hey, I don't know what I got banned for, we will always supply the evidence, the full transcript, the full clip, the full whatever there is, whatever context. That just is how we operate. And I think that's very important. I think, yeah, not knowing what you did wrong, like how you meant to sort of like change your situation if that's not what you're working on, right? So, I think transparency throughout moderation is really important. And again, if you've got a sound reasoning, you've got a sound process, you've got a process-driven approach to moderation, that's when you can open the books and be transparent, because you can always defend your action. You can always defend your stance on that. And I think, for that very reason, we do open the books. And if you for whatever reason ever did get banned, you'd be able to have that full evidence, that full understanding. And whether or not you agree with it is one thing, right? But at least you know what it was for.
Well, it's like you said, even from a self improvement or behavioral or character reformation point of view. Okay, you're banning a streamer because they did something wrong, and you want them to not do it again in the future. How can they make sure to not do it again in the future if you don't even tell them what it is that they did that was wrong in the first place? Right? That's a little bit problematic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, yeah, that's what we want to do as well. I think Andrew mentioned that to begin with. There's like, reformation, right? We want to, help people reform their act. We don't want to ban people. Of course, we don't want to ban people. We want to have as many people on the platform. We don't want to have to go ahead and remove people from it. We want to cater to as many people as possible. But yeah, not without taking it too far to the point that it's detrimental to everyone on the platform for being associated with certain people. So, how can we go about ensuring that people get unbanned and stick around? That is a key performance indicator for us. And yeah, you drive that through transparency, right? You drive that through education of, hey, look, this here is all good, but this here is no good, right? And it's simple as that.
We have run through every. I had 2.5 pages of notes and stuff I wanted to talk about, and we've run through all of it. I'm just gonna reiterate this. I am like so much cozier on Kick. Kick is just such a better vibe than it is on Twitch. On Twitch, it's just, and I think for me, it's like really the moderation policy. I just feel like at this point with Twitch, you have no idea who's getting suspended, why they're getting suspended, when it's coming, when it's not coming, and so it is. It is. I appreciate the transparency with Kick. I appreciate that a lot.
Nah, that's the least we can do. And I think I think also just coming on and having these talks, I think hopefully opens the eyes to other people as well. I think these kind of discussions around whether it's moderation, whether it's around KCIP, whether it's around the future of advertising, whether it's around just general plans for the platform, I think can hopefully help to reiterate that we're a serious contender in the space. We want to give this a crack, and we want to have more people like yourself, move on over and just enjoy themselves streaming, right? Have a good time. As Andrew said, that's earning a fair day's pay for a fair day's work as well, and not digging into people's pockets too hard in that sense. So I think there's a lot of positivity that we can talk about and continue to spread. But again, we've got a hell of a lot of work to do, that's for sure. I say this a lot, right? We got into the live streaming space and thought, hey, this will be easy, live streaming, just sign up a few big creators and we'll be done with it. But it's definitely proven to be one of the most challenging projects or most challenging situations I've found myself in. It's hard work. It certainly is. And I think, we're willing to tackle it. We're going to keep giving it, a good crack. And I think that there's a good opportunity to come out on top. I just think overall the space lacks a lot of great things that could otherwise be very easily bridged. And I think we've got that, we're in a great position right now to keep on just doing what we're doing, looking out for people. A lot of what we've spoken about, just continuing to double down on that. And I think that there's a world where that hierarchy in streaming can be toppled. I think that's our goal.
What do you think has been the most challenging part of trying to build Kick up over the last 2 years, or biggest, not most challenging, but most surprising part?
Honestly, I think moderation's been tough. It really has been. I think also just balancing community sentiment. Like realistically, you're dealing with a lot of people who have very, very strong opinions, and you have to respect that. It's not like another industry where you can just go, oh, people don't like what's going on, we just don't care. It's an industry where your loudest critics are people you genuinely have to listen to. You have to understand what's going on, and you have to find that balance. You have to strike that balance. So I think it's incredibly unique, just the way live streaming set up, whereby you have so much. You have to quite literally have your finger on the pulse the whole time. You have to really, you take your eyes off for whether it's a day or two, and before you know it, things can be going pear-shaped. It really is 24/7, 365 days a year, and it's something you have to be tapped into. It is a competitive space, and it is very volatile. And I think, dealing with, even like you said, a flurry of misinformation sometimes, and sometimes you're going above and beyond, right? And you're giving it things 110%. You're offering a better service. You're offering as much as you can, and still, of course, that's not good enough, right? So it's tough. It is tough sometimes, going into, say, a couple of years of running the business, and obviously Kick loses a lot of money, right? That's no secret. It's losing a ton of money, and when you kind of look back and you're like, fuck, people still not happy. Like, what are we doing wrong? That can be challenging. That can be really challenging. It can be mentally challenging. But again, that's why I mentioned consistency. It's just about keep on keeping on, right? I think that really is so important. I think that's why so many other platforms that have tried to enter this space have failed, because they've gone, wow, we're investing all this money, we're investing all this time, and we're still not fully getting that appreciation. But I think you got to leave that aside, right? You got to say, hold on, it's not about getting that appreciation now. It's about just believing in that long-term vision, looking for that for the next 5 to 10 years, opposed to kind of that more short-sighted aspect to it. And no different to the same way when you come up as a streamer, right? That first sort of year or two when you're trying to gain an initial audience, an initial community, it's difficult. It takes time. I think a platform goes on a very similar journey. You've got to fight through the beginning stages. You really got to just grind past it. You got to put 100% in, and it will start to pay off. But I think in all, it's been a very, very humbling experience, to say the least. I think we've gone into this and realized that, hey, look, it is an incredibly difficult industry to win, but I haven't changed my mind in the sense that I know that we can win it if we do everything that we're continuing to do, and live up to a lot of these different areas where we can just continue to offer a better service.
As I'm sure Twitch has never been profitable after Amazon's acquisition 10 or 11 years ago now. Do you have a rough time frame for when you expect Kick to start turning a profit on its own? Is 2, 3, 4 years, or do you have a timeline for profitability?
It's a tough. If you'd asked me a year and a half ago, I would have said 2 to 3 years. You ask me now, I'll probably say another 2 to 3 years. I think that it's still got a long way to go. It's still got a long way to go. I think the key to that, it was what we touched on really briefly before, is how do you approach user generated content, right? Like you truly need you need a unique thesis on how you can change the game, right? And that's where we have our unique thesis, is how you can monetize user generated content. At the backbone of Kick, you pull away everything. We genuinely believe that user generated content is not being monetized in an efficient way right now. And that is the backbone of what we're investing in. We're investing in how you can properly monetize user generated content. And when we get to that point, that's where we think we can, start to really spin a profit, reimagine. Instead of throwing 180 seconds worth of pre-roll or just advertisements at people, how can you truly engage that? And I think there's other companies that are doing a really good job at this at the moment. I think TikTok's doing a good job. YouTube has on the VOD side done a great job as well. And I think there's some aspirations up there, but peeling back without kind of getting too much in kind of the secret sauce is we really do want to reimagine that and change that up. So, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time because you start introducing this new way of monetizing user generated content. Without having the market share, without having the product, without having the technology, without having the community, without having the correct optics, it's not right. You can't put the wagon before the horse. And that's why I always tell people internally as well, guys, we've got to slow down. We've got to slow down. We've got to slow down. We always want to go ahead and start making profit. We always want to go ahead and start making revenues, but it's about getting everything in place first and then pursuing that. But yeah, I honestly, 2 to 3 years, I think is possible. More likely, probably a bit longer, but that's all right. I think as long as we're willing to accept that, right? The people funding the company, the company and its runway in terms of its opportunity and burn rate and current funds available to it can sustain that for 5 to 10 years. That's fine. And that's, everything's been prepared in that sense. So, I think it's more so about looking at the streaming space, looking at Kick and going, okay, you know what? Willing to write off X amount of dollars on the next 2 to 3 years and accept that right here and right now. And that's kind of how we look at this instead. I think it's a bit naive when you go ahead and you go, okay, we're going to have to hit profit in say 3 years, or we're going to have to pull the plug. That's when I think things are dangerous. When you do have that approach to business, and especially in a competitive landscape like streaming.
Yeah, it's tough because I think even looking beyond the scope of Twitch, I don't know that any website like Kick or Twitch is profitable yet. And so it's not like you have a template to look at. I mean, you can take some ideas, but you can't just, entirely, you're gonna, I guess the point is you're gonna have to do something different. You're gonna have to create something new. You're gonna have to do something innovative because nobody has done it yet. Nobody has been able to figure out what is the formula for profitability, because it doesn't seem like anybody's profitable yet.
Yeah, I would debate that. I think YouTube definitely is. TikTok is. I think Twitch is the only one that isn't apparently profitable. Again, whether or not how much you can take from that, I think you take with a grain of salt as well. Obviously, yeah, how you can account for stuff, especially if you're a public company, there's certain ways in which profits can count more towards revenue. Anyway, without getting into that, I do believe that there is many pathways to profitability. Advertising is a huge industry. And when you've got billions of hours being watched, if you're not making money off that, I think you're doing something severely wrong. I think you're either spending far too much money in places you shouldn't be, or B, you're just not actually offering the right opportunity there. But yeah, advertising is solved. Every other social media platform is profitable, right? I think maybe X is an exception right now. They're going through a bit of change. But every other social media platform has cracked it. It's literally just Twitch that makes that complaint, right? I don't think any other platform claims to be unprofitable, right? And I think for that reason, live streaming gets a bad rap. I think certainly we can change that narrative.
It's Twitch. Twitch has now we're getting kind of more nitty gritty, so I apologize. But on YouTube, for instance, and Facebook and on TikTok, they can sell advertisement slots to advertisers, and the advertisers can know exactly the demographic, racial, gender, geographic, age group that they're targeting to really maximize the value they get out of that ad, right? On Twitch, there's no such system. So if you're Wendy's and you're advertising your hamburgers or whatever, your French fries on Twitch, you're putting those ads in front of everybody, right? Whereas on TikTok, it's like, okay, I want to put my Wendy's ads in front of Americans that are between the ages of 14 and 23 or whatever, and you can really maximize that yield, right? And that's why advertising is so effective on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook ads or whatever. And so on Kick, as you're preparing to get ads in the next year and a half or 2 years, is this something that is this information you're trying to acquire, this analytic information that you can sell to advertisers, or not sell, but you use to better serve advertisers is the better way to put it, right? So they can have more targeted ads to get a better return. Because as I understand it, advertisers have a really, really bad experience on Twitch. And I mean, that's kind of been in the news lately. But beyond the news and the drama and the boycotts, it's like if you put an ad on Twitch, there's no way to guarantee that it's even being put in front of a demographic that you really want it to be put in front of, right? Outside of,
Yeah.
I think they can pick what country they want, but age, gender, whatever, because men and women buy different things. Different age groups buy different things, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I'm sure you can target it a bit, right? I'm not 100% sure if it's just blanket. I think obviously you can target by language, by region, but I'm sure that they offer the ability to break down. I think that's kind of very much a basic advertising requirement. I think you're not going to attract the likes of some of the advertisers on that platform, without having the ability to do that. But can you get even more granular? Can you get even more data? Can you make advertising even more targeted? Can you do a better job at understanding, who that demographic is and allowing advertisers more visibility and more opportunity to be more selective around what they do? Definitely. I think, at the end of the day, you just need to give people as much opportunity to be as selective as they possibly can. I think it's about, almost opening up the the back end in a way which allows for us to really let people just completely have full visibility and full opportunity to make those changes to how their ads are served. And that's kind of the way that we want to run ads is to really work as closely with partners as possible. Not say, hey, look, that's not possible. It's find a way to move forward. It's a way to allow people to get that insight. And it's doable. It's doable. I think, there are advertising platforms out there where you can, the amount of different opportunities you have to kind of sort of dial down into a select demographic you're going after is insane, right? The granularity that, Meta has, for example, is crazy. And I think, live streaming should be no different.
Is this sort of information stuff that you guys have access to on the back end of Kick, but that streamers don't at the moment, and that's the issue? Like for instance, if you wanted to know the male to female ratio of XQC viewers on Kick, do you have that information, or is that still yet to be tracked or harvested?
Yeah, so we don't ask for gender on sign up at the moment, so we're not tracking that. But can we gain access and data around that? Yes, I think the way that data can be mapped now and the different sources you can utilize and how you can go about that, it's very I don't think something like male or female, right? I think that can definitely be solved. Can we have the ability to data warehousing, data management nowadays is changing so quickly. The opportunities and technology available to kind of assist with those problems now, it really is a solved problem, all in all. So yeah, I have no doubt that we can get down to that. I think the male and female one's just a bad example in the sense that we're not actively asking for that right now. But yeah, we've got the capability to track everything, right? I think that's our job. I think right now, unfortunately, we're not displaying that perfectly. I think you brought up like the analytics, right? We don't even have the bare bone analytics available to creators at this point in time, which we need to get out there as soon as possible. But in the back end, we're tracking a lot of stuff. It just needs to be displayed in the correct manner to people. And I think that's certainly what we'll aim to do is get as much of that data out to all the relevant parties. I think streamers are interested in a certain amount of data. Maybe even viewers are interested in certain data that we can share. And then, advertisers, of course, are interested in a completely different set of data. So I think it's about figuring out who's the target, who's like, the audience you're trying to, who you're trying to speak to, and giving them as much as possible. Because, data in this industry is so important. It really is. And that is what will ultimately be such a major factor when it comes down to, that subject again of how do we more effectively monetize user generated content. So yeah, we're already preemptively, getting ready for that and making sure that we do have access to as much as possible.
One thing also that kind of add on there when we talk internally and things and philosophize on where we could take these things is I think that we should also have an option where the creator can opt into a campaign, right? Like I don't know, maybe you don't want a McDonald's ad, running on your stream because you feel some sort of way about McDonald's or whoever, right? Whatever ad is being run at the time. I do think that there's a world where things can work, the two-way street where a creator such as yourself can look at a portfolio of brands that Kick is working with, and you can opt into campaigns, right? I think some smaller places like I think Streamlabs or eFuse have different platforms where you can opt into different brand activations, and I think that that's always a good way to go too, where the creator can be choosier about who they're putting their name behind.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool idea too. That really would be. And yeah, I apologize. I think the sex or gender, metric was probably a bad example. But stuff like, okay, what country do my viewers live in? That's like super important data, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, so we definitely got access to all that, 100%. Yeah, I think that's just about opening that up and being as transparent as possible.
That's great. And yeah, like this analytics stuff on the back end on the dashboard, this is that like 10% that I think is behind Twitch. But as I said earlier, I think in nine out of 10 categories, I think Kick is like pretty much kicking Twitch's ass, pretty much.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll make sure to get that final category launched. I think, yeah, obviously analytics product wise, API has been mentioned in the chat a lot throughout the stream as well. I think, that's something as well, which we're really pumped up to get out. Allowing other developers to really build on top of Kick and get creators access to a whole bunch of other tools that sit on top of the platform as well. I think that's going to be really exciting. That's not far off, and we've got some really great initiatives behind how we're going to do that even better. We call it the Kick developer ecosystem, and how we're going to really promote and help third-party developers to get more access to more data, more access to more endpoints, more access to first-party developers to really build the tools that are haven't been seen on live stream before is going to be incredible as well. And I think that'll help to fill a lot of these other gaps as well, and really turbocharge closing that kind of that gap between other products. So that's super exciting. Just I think it's come up a fair few times in chat there, so I just wanted to address that one quickly.
The chat seems curious on whether or not you're going to give a bonus. I'm not really sure what that means.
Give a bonus. I don't know. I think that might be part of the stake stream or something. I think there was a stake stream before that. Maybe they're a bit lost.
Yeah, maybe. No, this has been great. I really appreciate the talk and the insight, and being receptive of some of my half-baked ideas. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
No. Thank you. I think there's a couple that certainly stick, or they all stick, but there's a couple that especially stick. I think we've got a lot of work to do on that, and I think that fresh take that you have coming in very recently, making that switch over, is incredible. So, can't thank you enough for coming on, waking up early for 5 a.m. you said, and jumping on to have a good chat with us and run through, your thought processes. And I think Andrew, we've got a few action items from this one. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Matt brings a different perspective. He's fresh, right? But he's also been on this journey for a while. I think he's battle tested too, right? Like he's in a genre that's not easy, and whether it's WoW or political commentary. The stuff he says has a lot of weight behind it, and we just really appreciate you coming on here, man, and like giving your wisdom, your critiques. And listen, it's an open door on this end, man. I mean, you're linked to us on Discord, and we only see this as the beginning of this relationship. And then, yeah, man, you will be getting a lot more follow up from us in terms of like, hey, you know, your idea around KCIP or this push or this thing. Going to take a lot of this stuff internally and just be like, hey, man, we need to get on this like we did 95.5, you know, and get the word out.
No, and I'd like to, extend the offer also. If you guys ever, I don't, if I can help you in any way possible, please reach out to me. If you'd want to bounce something back and forth, I would love to help or be involved in whatever I can do to help kick out, however small it might be.
Awesome. No, that means a lot. Much appreciate that. I think, yeah, Andrew, even if you could make a Discord group with us as well after this, that'd be great. I think,
Yeah.
just actually, well, fuck, we're on Discord right now. I can make one myself. Awesome.
Yeah, but hey, Matt, thanks so much, man.
No, I appreciate it a lot. This means a lot. It's a big deal. And now I'm gonna go take a nap.
Hey, but real quick, you didn't leave anything on the table, right? There's nothing you're gonna walk away from this and be like, get pegged by your community for backing down on or not saying or not asking. Like, I just want to make sure that you got it out, man.
Man, I gotta say, my community is like way happier on Kick. They're happy to be here, so my community is not pressure. Like you need to roast them on this. Like, no, my guys are happy to be here. They're way happier.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because they're like me. They feel like they're not walking on eggshells either. So it's a little bit cozier, like I said.
No,
Excellent.
I think, yeah, that walking on eggshells one, I think is always one I come back to. I think in the very early days of Kick, when we're kind of setting out to build the platform, it was probably the most used term amongst like the first movers. Was like, how do we take away that kind of walking on eggshells mentality to streaming, because that's not healthy.
Yeah, no, it's not. In fact, like I'll give another little example here. Sometimes I'll do a stream where I go live on Twitch and then I'll be there for 2 hours and then I'll, segue over here to Kick, right? I'll say, all right, guys, we're moving over to Kick. And I feel like when I go offline on Twitch and I come over to Kick, it's like I can kind of figuratively let my hair down. I'm like, I can finally breathe. I'm safe. I'm safe on Kick, and I'm not worried anymore.
Well, we're gonna keep that like that. We're gonna keep that like that, and I think hopefully that brings more people like yourself. That's what we're looking to achieve. And I think about saying that loudly as well, and how we can get that same message across. And maybe we're gonna hit you up for a testimonial, or maybe we've actually got a testimonial here from the clips already. That'd be enough.
Yeah. Well, hey, whatever. If you guys need help, like I said, let me know, and I'll do whatever I can for you guys.
Awesome, man. Well, much appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for dropping by and having the conversation. DMs are open whenever anything pops up. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to properly meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Absolute pleasure and absolute honor. Thank you guys very much.
We'll talk more, man, for sure.
Awesome.
Yep. Take care, gentlemen.
See ya.
Later.
That was awesome. That was great. Really good chat. I think certainly like completely unique sort of view, I think, especially coming to Kick so recently. And I must say, I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in all the negativity that people sometimes have, and it's so refreshing to hear positivity. I love it. It's great. It is, I think Matt asked there, right? He was like, what's the most challenging thing about Kick? And I'll be honest, it's the negativity. It gets to you. It does get to you. Like, it doesn't matter how thick your skin is. Like, when you kind of like invest in all this time and what money as well and all this, and